clock is ticking. And welcome back to Street Writers.
These are 10 minutes of writing motivation, inspiration, and activation.
It's good to be back in the laundry room, the studio.
Back in the laundry saddle.
Just one-on-one. We've been doing a lot of interviews, and those are fun. Those are great. We want to do more of those, but I think we have to be too adult when we do those. I feel like we're being so serious with our Buddhist teachers and our university professors and novelists, and we have to act like we know what we're talking about.
I got to put a tie on for
exactly.
those.
Those are,
No, we can be stupid today.
Exactly.
Hey, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, or if you're not, either way, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. The reviews definitely help, even if you just have time to throw some stars. 5 at us. That would be helpful.
Indeed.
Take a swing at this.
It's tips, it's tricks, sleight of hand, powering up your pencil, percolating your brain, and whatever you have to say, Mark, I gotta say I'm probably going to reject it.
Summarily. Funny enough, we talk about rejection, Dan.
Amazing, the
nice
segue. Pre-planning makes sense.
And we're going to talk about rejection because that's what we get as writers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get it a lot more than the acceptances. And if we do get lucky and get in right away and get an acceptance, then the next one may be the rejection.
Right.
It's important to figure out a strategy for dealing with those ever-present and perennial companions that are going to be rejections.
Okay.
And it's different for everybody. And I don't think it ever gets easy. You know you're going to get a punch to the gut, especially if you are counting on something. You have to figure out how you're going to deal with the fact that 1 out of 3, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 may get through, but a lot of them won't. And so everybody has to come up with their own writing strategy. And then you have to also figure out, when you do get those rejections, does that reflect or should that reflect on your writing?
So when you say that, to me it strikes me that rejection has a couple of forms when you think about it writing. Like one is a rejection of your writing.
Yep.
Me personally feeling like my craft or my approach or my words don't work. How do I deal with that?
Right.
Do I become judgmental? But also the practical street writing part of it, I was counting on that job. I was counting on something to come from that. Now I got to find, and now I'm not getting a check from that. I'm not getting recognition from that.
Right.
There's a factor in there too, that now I have to reroute my approach and maybe look for something else to pay a bill or buy a toy or something. So,
but isn't that part of like the street writer mantra anyway, is don't count on any one thing. I mean, I think that's a good lesson out of that.
Right.
I mean, you're
except that this podcast will be on every week. You can count on that.
That's right, exactly. And the millions we make on it. You put everything you can into the piece you're writing. And this is part of how you deal with rejection as well. And this is also part of how you are as... And writing is, you have to love writing.
Yes.
And you have to do it because of that passion that makes you do it. Mm-hmm. If you are making a living or you're planning on making a living, that's great. But it still has to be that passion. And then once you have that passion and once you have a system to continue writing, then it's like, okay, how much of a gambler are you on any one piece? Mm-hmm. You can bet the house on this one thing and spend years and raise funds to do it and stuff like that. How will that affect you if it doesn't go? Mm-hmm. And to your point, if you got a third mortgage, is this catastrophic? Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of things you need to think of in advance. Personally, I prefer the other method. I'm the Henry Ford machine assembly line approach, where I'll put a certain amount of resources and time and effort into any writing or film project, but I'm not going to let anything kill me. So I think from that point of view, I can do a better job of compartmentalizing, getting it to the best it can be, putting it out there, hoping it gets me work, and then coming back and saying, okay, what's next?
When you say don't count on something, right, that is good street writer's advice.
Right.
Keep powering through.
Right.
How do you make sure that doesn't become a negative in your head?
I think it's a Zen kind of thing, not to get all Josh-like metaphysical on you, but I don't think you write for the idea this is going to make me millions. This is the one that does it. You write because you have something to say. And you are going to say it. And if you're going to look for a commercial job, You write to the best of your ability. You have to take pride in the writing and the fact that you brought it to a level you're proud of. That's all you control.
That's right, and that's I want an important distinction there. I wasn't saying you think the next thing is going to be the next big thing,
right?
But that you don't get into a hope for the best, expect the worst, mentality, which becomes a little fatalistic,
right.
and can lead you into it's never going to work out for me anyway.
Right.
I'll keep powering through.
Right. Again, I think you have to be more of a machine about this. I don't think you get into that head of, well, it's probably not gonna, or it's not worth, or something like that. You go through the process that we've been talking about. If you need that feedback and you have your trusted feedback group, if you get it to a point that you and your feedback group are in a place that's like, yeah, this is what you intended to do,
then you've done the job.
You've done the job.
Right.
And that's where the job ends. And as far as, is it going to be picked up in Hollywood? Is a client going to say, we love it and do it again? The danger is that when you get that rejection, you're so vested in what you put forward that now you get resistant.
So ultimately, it's reject the rejection.
Yes, exactly. Hey, got a tip to share? Send it to streetwriters.podcast@gmail.com, and we would love to bring it on the air.
They beat us to the punch.
Admiring the craft or being jealous of it?
So here's an interesting new format we haven't talked about in terms of writing. We talked about movies, we talked about games, we talked about novels. I never thought I'd be on here talking about admiring a piece of writing on Twitter. And I'm not just talking about like a 280-character little tweet.
Right.
But there's these Twitter threads where some author of a Twitter tweet, starts to just kind of go off on a piece thread.
Right.
And then it becomes a longer piece of writing.
Sure.
But you're reading it in these little fragmented ways. And there's a piece that Christopher McQuarrie wrote recently. And Christopher McQuarrie is the writer of The Usual Suspects.
Right.
Great movie, one of my favorite movies.
I love that.
Among many other things.
Kaiser Soze, of course.
Kaiser Soze. I wanted to name my child Kaiser Soze. My wife was not too into that. And he was asked recently on Twitter, basically a lot of questions from writers about where they should submit their scripts, their Hollywood scripts, how to sell them. And he got into this whole long thread. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but I suggest finding it. We'll put it in the notes.
Right.
Because it's really terrific. And it actually ties a lot into what you were just saying about rejection. But it's the writing quality of this that I lean so hard into. Being asked, okay, where should I put my scripts? The odds of just submitting your script and having it made are extremely slim. And while I would never discourage you from playing the lottery, I would strongly advise you not to make it your sole source of income.
Right.
How do I sell my screenplay is a question at the heart of the screenwriter's mindset and is the essence of why writers are treated the way they are. We are trained to think that way. The system depends on our dependency. The subtext of that question is, where do I go for permission to sign away my dream? It also asks, what is the shortest route to my career? The secret to making movies is making movies, starting with the little movies no one will ever see. The secret to knowledge is doing and failing, often and painfully, and letting everyone see. The secret to a rewarding career in film and many other fields is focusing entirely on execution and not on result. For those insisting solely on playing the lottery, I wish you all the luck in the world. For those of you ready to make your own luck, I wish you all the success you deserve. What writing is knocking you out? Tell us about it at anchor.fm/streetwriters/message.
Hit us with your best shot.
It's time to get in the ring with us.
Okay, so you and I did a film called Classmates.
We did.
I got a few rejections early on and was getting pretty nervous. Was this ever going to be picked up? Again, my formula is I'm on to the next thing.
Right.
But obviously, you got a horse in the race. You want to see
get that moving.
But you want to see some kind of payoff for a film. And then you want to also learn, if it didn't work or whatnot. But I'm happy to say we got in a festival, a short Cinefest it's called. If we had gotten in nowhere, it would have been like a great experience and I would have enjoyed it. But getting that first film festival, for this film in particular, love it. Keep me going, more fuel for the fire.
Right.
But take all those rejections. You never know what will happen. It is the lottery. And I may get 10 more rejections before anything happens.
Do you ever get rejections with these festivals they give you context ever, or is it just sorry you didn't get in? Like, do you get some feedback?
Some will, but some you have to pay extra for.
Oh, really? They make you
Yeah.
pay for the
feedback.
Wow.
Yeah.
But didn't you pay to submit it in the first place?
You
like
did,
a couple bucks?
but there's all levels of kind of thing. So
Wow, that's a racket. We should open a film festival of just like, I will give you detailed rejection.
That's right.
I mean, you're paying for rejection.
I know.
That's something.
I know. That's what I cannot ever.
I can pay.
I know. It's kind of like saying,
I get it for free.
This, the dominatrix coming in saying, "I'm going to slash your back till you bleed. That'll be $100."
Wow.
Please. Yeah.
I wish you had started this episode with that whole detail because that's like unfathomable to me that you would pay for rejection. And that's it for this time out. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, connect with us at streetriders.podcast@gmail.com.
Tell your friends to listen and their friends too.
Take you to the streets.
And fight to right.